I want to talk to you about something I think people are forcefully trying to not remember, and that is that we are very much, as people, part of the ecosystem that our planet is comprised of. And of course, this sounds very obvious. This sounds like something that everyone understands and thinks about, but I don't think we are all making this connection in our contemporary, everyday kind of practical lives. I think we are very much skimming over the fact that we are as much the animals that are being killed by the changing of the climate, I say by microplastics. Let me come at this. Okay, I want you to think about Earth Day, for example. Everyone posts on Instagram a picture they took of some place in nature that they love. They take the trees or the water, something beautiful. We all love that. Every single person on the earth wants to be in beautiful nature with the people they love, doing the things they love. No one is going to come here and say that they don't value nature, that they don't think the earth is important. You may get people who value the economy over nature. You may get people who value warfare over nature. You may get all of these things. I would argue they are wrong. I would argue there is nothing more important than a unified and common goal, a necessity to be providing for the planet as a community of individuals. Because nature is not some external thing that you can photograph and say, I love Yosemite National Park in the United States of America. You cannot do this. You can look at yourself and your body and you can say, I'm a reflection of nature. My declining fertility is a reflection of nature. The increase in microplastics in my blood is a reflection of nature. I am very much, just as much a part of the natural world as any other thing, as any tree that will die, as any, casualty from a climate change induced storm. I am very much the same. I am an organism on the planet and I am at the same risk as all of these other organisms. Every single thing you do to harm the planet is causing direct harm to yourself, okay? Every plastic item that you use is going and being degraded and is entering your air streams, your bloodstreams, is the catalyst of all of these terrible increases in disease and decreases in fertility. And, it is the cause of your insomnia. It is the cause of your chronic disease, your inflammation. I want you to be very cognizant of the things you are using and the sphere in which you are making yourself live, okay? I want you to think about your surroundings as an element of nature. There is no part of the world, no matter how sterile or how fabricated it feels, there is no part of the world that is not a part of nature, okay? And there is no person that is not equally as responsible for nature as they are for their own well-being and their own soul. It doesn't matter how powerful you are. I don't know who's watching this, an oil executive potentially, or, some eco mom from the egoist place. It doesn't matter. I want you to think about your choices as directly impacting you as well as the environment. Or vice versa. I don't know which one is going to make more of an effect on your decisions and your behaviors. But I want you to take the one that makes more of an impact and go with that, because you are also responsible for me and for your loved ones and for your friends. And I would argue that pretty much anyone on this planet who is not a psychopath and who is not completely isolated has, and even then, they still have love. They have love for something, for someone. Everything is part of the system, this rotating biological flow of the water, of the air. Everything is impacted by everything else, okay? And this, it's obvious, it's so simple. Like, this isn't even something I should have to say, but when I see people putting things onto their bodies, this is a terrible example because I'm covered in paint. But, it's impacting you as much as it is impacting the environment. I am certainly not perfect. This paint, I don't think it's very eco. It's probably causing me great harm, and it will probably cause the waterway great harm, and I should have thought of that and I should have avoided it. But, I'm doing my best to make a difference. I'm obviously going to make lapses in my judgment, but there is time to forgive yourself and try to make up the difference in other ways. I just want you to understand that it is not just these poor, washed up seabirds that we see caked in oil that are the victims of a lack of consciousness around climate and the environment. I want you to know that you, as a human being, are just as delicate and impacted an animal as any other animal you have seen. You are full of plastic. You are full of plastic. And that is your fault. And that is my fault. But we are not on the earth. We are not exempt from this. We are part of the system that we are killing, okay? It is happening to us, by us, okay? Everything you do, every chemical, primarily it's going through us to begin with. We are the ones that are closest to the fuel that is pushed out of the exhaust, We are the closest to the microplastics that are coming from our clothing, our synthetic clothing, and the synthetic things we put on our skin, like what I have. We are the first line of what is being impacted, and there's only so much you can take. There's only so much your system can return homeostatically to a healthy state. There is a limit to the human body and the kind of toxins and environments it is able to process. I urge you to think of yourself as a member of a larger body and a larger network, and to meditate on the thought of respecting and loving that network very deeply, and loving the earth very deeply, which you already do, but I need you to think about why and how and what you're doing wrong and what you need to change. Because everything you've ever loved is being harmed, and you are no exception, and the people you love are no exception. A simpler example, no shade to my roommate, but she asked me if I could buy her plastic wrap for a costume. Again, I'm not trying to be mean to my roommate. I love her very much. And I said, no, I'm not going to get you plastic wrap, because to me that's as bad as buying methamphetamine for your friend, You're not going to do that. That is going to hurt you. That is going to hurt us. There are moral limits to what I'm going to do for my friends and family if I think it's not going to be good for them. You're not going to buy some kind of cancerous gas for your family. So why are you buying them these plastic items, these plastic tubs and containers and wraps and clothing? Why are you doing this? You're very deep in denial. We are all very deep in denial. And I know it's terrifying to go out, but I want you to know that although everyone's saying only the big companies can do anything to stop this, only if we kill the oil executives and dismantle their businesses can we do anything to stop climate change. Sure, that is true. That is true on a large scale. But it is also the paint I'm wearing on my face that is harming me and is harming the water and is harming the squirrel outside, It is not just these big kind of environmental things. It's not just like the big semi-truck that is hurtling down the highway and using all this gas. It is using a sweet wrapper and you get a little in your mouth and of the plastic, you chew the plastic and fuck. If there's something you can avoid consuming yourself, if there's something you can avoid using yourself that causes damage, and if you don't know what causes damage, I would encourage you to find that out. There are so many places you can learn on the internet. Clearly you have access to that. But I want you to think every time you are hurting yourself, that is a direct consequence of environmental damage. You are directly damaging the environment by damaging yourself, because you are a member of the environment. Everything that goes through your system is returned to the earth, and you will be returned to the earth. And there's a hopeful side to this thought as well. There is an opportunity for good action. For example, if you are faced with the choice of purchasing a new soap to put on your body, I would recommend for you and for your health to choose something natural that doesn't have, for example, phthalates or PBAs or PFAs or harsh chemicals or benzene or any of this, but instead just choose something simple that is going to go easily down the water drain and go easy on your skin and your system. It is not going to create some kind of long lasting chronic condition 10 years down the line, you know? Because you are the little animal that can't escape the plastic. That's you. You're the one that's breathing in the dirty air. And what are you going to do to change that? Are you going to sit and let it happen and encourage yourself to simply play by what you're told to do, and continue to consume things that are really, really bad for you? Or are you going to make the decision to change your routine and to change the system in which you live and to do things that are healthier for you, which are of course healthier for the planet? You can do this, for example, with vegetarianism or choosing not to eat red meat or a lot of processed meats. This has been proven so many times to be a lot healthier. Oh, they're doing fireworks. To be a lot healthier for you and a lot healthier for the planet. And that is not a coincidence. It is not a coincidence that this action is good for you and it's good for the planet. It is good for you because it is good for the planet, because you are the planet, okay? Every small decision has the potential for a positive impact in your future. I could list other examples, but I think what I wanted to say is understood, and I want you to think of yourself with care and with love and gently, just as I would like you to think of the earth in the same way, just as you would think of some hurt animal in the same way. You know, if you found an animal that was hurt due to its environment, would you continue to put it through the same stressors that the environment has imposed upon it? Or would you try to remove the stressors, for example, the plastic in the stomach of a seagull, and then would you try to change the rhythm of the environment in order to change the outcome for the animal? There is a correct answer to this. Your actions and my actions are never isolated. Everything you do affects everything you love. So I would therefore encourage you to begin the cycle intelligently and kindly and with the balance of ecology in mind. And I think we will all see a betterment in the outcome. I'll see you later.